Hello everyone! Today we're going to talk about the Australian company Iren Limited, which was previously known as Iris Energy and was established for Bitcoin mining. Its data centers are located in the US and Canada, and it's enough to say that just one of them consumes more than 200 megawatts of electricity. At the same time, the company is focused on energy efficiency and therefore uses energy from solar and wind power plants exclusively, meaning it relies solely on renewable energy sources. In recent years, the company has started selling its computing power for high-performance computing and artificial intelligence systems. It has an agreement with Microsoft to supply computing power based on NVIDIA chips worth $9.7 billion. And despite the fact that the company's revenue grew by 170% over the past year, its net loss in the last quarter amounted to $155 million. Now let's take a look at the chart and analyze what we can expect from this company's stock. We can see that since its IPO at around $28, the stock began to decline and by December 2022 had dropped 28 times, trading at about $1. After that, growth began, which ended around the same time that Bitcoin reached its all-time high, demonstrating the inseparable link between the company's stock price and the price of Bitcoin, since the company is actively engaged in mining. And so, in November 2025, from the peak price of $76.87, the stock fell to $33.34, that is, by about 2.5 times. Right now, it is trading at $45. And note that January closed with a strong green candle, which generally indicates the potential for growth. But at the same time, note that we have a rather strong overbought condition according to the RSI, and in theory, we could go lower. What I would focus on first and foremost is the $28 level. This level was broken, but it is a historical level and there is a very high probability that the price will test it again. And here, in my opinion, is quite a good point for making the first purchases of this stock. Now we will remove all the markings completely and look at the weekly candles. On the weekly candles, we can see that the previous week closed with a bearish engulfing pattern, which indicates that formally we have a downward trend here. What are the targets for a potential decline? Well, the first target is probably the 50-week moving average, which we last tested around June 2025. It would be very logical to see a decline into this area. The level of 30 on the RSI can also serve as a reference point. So when the indicator enters this area, it could potentially be an interesting point to buy shares. At the same time, we can't rule out growth from the current levels, because if we stay above the $39.95 level, and the monthly candles indirectly suggest this, since the January candle closed with a solid gain, then we could see growth right from the current levels. If you suddenly decide to buy the stock at the current price, I would strongly recommend placing a stop on this purchase below the previous week's low. As for the growth targets, they're limitless because the current market capitalization is just a little over $9 billion. Remember the trillion-dollar companies that once cost very little. At the same time, the company is still exposed to the risks of a decline in the cryptocurrency market, because my analysis shows that a drop in Bitcoin to 60,000 is most likely not the end. On the daily time frame, we also see an interesting situation. First of all, the company has been consistently setting new highs while the RSI highs have been decreasing. This is a divergence. It broke through a very important support level around $52, then retested it and moved lower, consolidating below the 100-day moving average, which is shown in red. After that, it once again moved above the $52 level, stayed there for a while, and is now trading below both the 50 and the 100-day moving averages, as well as below the $52 level, which indicates a potential decline toward the 200-day or possibly even the 300-day moving averages, which is in the range of $25 to $33. So $28 falls roughly in the middle of this range. So here too, it makes more sense to wait for a test of the $28 level before making any initial purchases. Well, in my opinion, the most reliable purchases will be when Bitcoin shows its true bottom, the final reversal, but I think we haven't seen that yet, so I would recommend holding off on buying. In any case, if I decide to buy this stock, I'll do it on the Quant Fury platform, which you can use just like I do. Here I trade not only stock market shares without commission, but also cryptocurrencies, gold, silver, and many other financial instruments. The QR code is on your screen, and I'll say goodbye until the next review, which will probably be about the crypto market. Goodbye.